Now let's do a few word problems involving mixed numbers. This first one is going to say, find the perimeter of this rectangle. Notice I have only listed the width and the length once each, but we know that there are going to be two of each of these. So the perimeter is actually going to equal 1 1/3 plus 1 1/3 plus 3 1/4 plus 3 1/4. Now, as we learned a little while ago, we can either add the whole numbers together first and then add the fraction parts together, or we can put all of these over a common denominator after converting to an improper fraction, which is what I'm going to do here. To convert 1 1/3 to an improper fraction, I'm going to multiply 3 times 1 is 3 plus 4, and write that as 4/3. So I'm going to begin with 4/3 plus 4/3. And with this 3 1/4, I'm going to have 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13, and write this as 13 over 4 plus 13 over 4. Now, each of these need to be over a common denominator in order for us to be able to add, and so that common denominator will be 12. So here we go, rewriting each of these over 12. And the first two fractions need to be converted from a denominator of 3 to 12. So we're going to multiply through by 4 over 4. And that will give us 16 over 12 for the first two fractions. The second two, to go from 4 to 12, we're going to multiply by 3 over 3. Now 3 times 13 in the numerator is 39. So here we go. We've got 16 plus 16, that's going to be 32. And 39 plus 39, that is going to be 78. If we add these together, we get 110 in the numerator. So 110 divided by 12. Now, we haven't used the units yet, and we started with mixed numbers, so we should finish with mixed numbers. We should know our times tables up to 12 times 12, and 12 times 9 is 108. So this is going to go in 9 times. 108 is 2 away from 110, so there's going to be 2 out of 12 left over. But 2/12 can be reduced because both the 2 and the 12 are even. So I'm going to rewrite that as 9 1/6 meter. And that will be the perimeter of this rectangle. Now let's find the average of these two numbers, 2 1/5 and 3 1/4. We know that if we need to find the average of two numbers, we're going to add those two numbers up and divide by 2. So let's begin with the addition part. 2 1/5 plus 3 1/4. I'm going to convert those to improper fractions. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11, so I'm going to have 11 over 5, plus 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13, so we're going to have 13 over 4. So add those two together, and then divide by 2. We do what's inside the parentheses first, which is going to require a common denominator, which will be 20. So rewrite each of these over 20. The first fraction, going from a denominator of 5 to 20, is going to get multiplied by 4 over 4, giving us 44 over 20. And the second fraction, going from 4 to 20, is going to get multiplied by 5 over 5. You'll have to go off to the side, get 13 times 5, which is 65. And so inside the parentheses here, when we add together, we get 109 over 20. Now, we've got to bring down our divide by 2, which is really a divide by 2 over 1. And whenever we divide by a fraction, we learned this in the last chapter, we multiply by the reciprocal. Now, we would check to see if we can cancel on the diagonals here, but we can't, and neither fraction can be reduced as is. So we're just going to multiply straight across and get 109 over 40. You do not need a common denominator when you're multiplying fractions together. Now, this just hardly seems to be halfway between these two given numbers because it's not written as an improper, or because it's not written as a mixed number. So, 40, how many times does it go into 109? It goes in 2 times, that makes 80, and then there's 29 left over, so 29 out of 40. Now that looks like a better answer because we can tell that that does appear to be halfway between these two given numbers. Now let's solve another word problem. If John works for 21 3/4 hours and he earns $348, what is his hourly rate of pay? Now that may be a little bit harder for us to focus on because of the mixed number there, so let's just think of something a little bit easier. Let's pretend that you make $15 an hour and you work for 10 hours. Won't you make $150? So basically we have the hourly rate times the number of hours equals the total pay. Well, in our problem we were given the total pay and the number of hours, so if multiplication gets you to this product, we can divide to get backwards. So we want to take our 348 in this case, and we want to divide that by 21 3/4. Well, we're going to have to convert this first into an improper fraction, and we might as well write that 348 over 1. So 348 over 1 divided by, now 4 times 21 is 84, plus 3 makes 87. So 87 over 4. We cannot cancel across a division sign. We need to convert this into a multiplication problem. So 348 over 1 times 4 over 87. So we've got some rather large numbers, but let's go over here to our scratch paper. 348 times 4. 4 times 8 is 32. Put the 2 down, carry the 3. 4 times 4 is 16, plus that 3 is 19. Put the 9 down, carry the 1. 4 times 3 is 12, plus that 1 is 13. So we have now 1,392 divided by 87. Woo, we've got some big numbers here. Now let's just kind of think about this here. Let's pretend this is 20 hours. Now, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 5 hours, then another 5 for the next 100, and another 5. So I'm guessing 15 or 16 times this is going to go in. So let's do some multiplication on the side here. Let's go 87 times 15 and see how close we get to this 1392. 5 times 7 is 35. Carry the 3. 40 plus 3, 43. Put our 0 down as a placeholder. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 8 is 8. 5, 10, carry that, 1,305. So we're getting close. And notice here, if we add 87 to this, it turns out that 87 times 16 is going to end up being 1392 on the nose. So we're going to find out that our answer is going to be 16. What is his hourly rate of pay? I'm going to write $16 per hour. Now you notice we've kind of slipped into the category here of order of operations with mixed numbers, so that's what we're going to work on next. Let's say we have 1 1/3 plus 1 1/4, and we want to square that and then subtract 2 1/2. Okay, let's work on this carefully. P-E-M-D-A-S. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. P goes first with parentheses, and that says we need to do this math problem inside the parentheses. So let's convert these each to improper fractions. The first one, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, 4/3. The next one, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so 5/4. Quantity squared, and I'm going to rewrite this as 2 times 2 plus 1, 5/2, so that just everything now is an improper fraction. Now we need a common denominator to add inside the parentheses. That common denominator will be 12, and the first fraction is going to get multiplied by 4 over 4 to get to that 12. So we're going to have 16 over 12. The second fraction is going to get multiplied by 3 over 3, and that will give us 15 over 12. So we're going to have 31 over 12 quantity squared. Now I need to multiply 31 times 31 and 12 times 12. I know the denominator will be 144, but 31 times 31 is a little larger than I want to deal with. So let's go off to some scratch paper on the side here, and we'll find out that the product is 961. So 961 over 144, and I'm going to bring down this 5 halves a couple steps. I'm going to need a common denominator of 144 in order to be able to do the subtraction, and I'm going to need to multiply now by 72 over 72. Now 5 times 72 I happen to know because I deal with pentagons a lot when I've taught geometry. That's going to be 360. Now subtracting, I've got a common denominator of 144. Subtracting, I'm going to get 601. Now, since I began with mixed numbers, I should probably finish with mixed numbers. If I pretend this is 150, 150 times 4 is 600. So I think that goes in about 4 times. I'm using my estimation skills. So off to the side here, 144 times 4, 16, carry the 1. 16 plus 1 is 17, carry the 1. 576 is what I get. So yes, that does go in 4 times. And now how far is 576 from 601? Well, 25 apart. So there will be 25 left over 144. Whenever you are dealing with order of operations with mixed numbers or multiple operations, even though the original denominators were just 3, 4, and 2, you can see how messy this gets. So this section really does take some time.